Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Throughout history, many people have generally believed that eunuchs were a group of unfortunate individuals oppressed and harmed by feudal imperial power. In reality, looking at the entire history of China, it can be said that the appearance of eunuchs had many cases where it was a voluntary choice made by court officials. Among them were those who, after marrying and having children, castrated themselves to become eunuchs. Even more peculiar were certain periods when individuals secretly castrated themselves, sent gifts, and replaced someone else's position to enter the palace. Although many were abducted and forced to become eunuchs, compared to the countless eunuchs over thousands of years, the number of those forcibly recruited was not very high. So, what were the reasons that drove so many men to castrate themselves willingly and become objects of ridicule in society? The earliest recorded eunuch in Chinese history was during the spring and autumn period, a man named Shujiao. To gain the trust of Duke Huan of Qi, he willingly castrated himself without hesitation. Upon seeing this, Duke Huan considered him very devoted and started to use him extensively. However, an official named Yongzheng, before his death, advised Duke Huan, even if a person is despicable, they still care about their own well-being. But this Shujiao doesn't even care about his own body. Do you think he can be loyal to you? Although this advice was logical, Duke Huan ignored it, and Shujiao eventually rebelled. Here arises a strange question: why would someone willingly castrate themselves and become a eunuch as a way to express loyalty? If this was just the eccentricity of Duke Huan, it wouldn't explain why eunuchs became increasingly common afterward, to the point of becoming a rule in the palace and gaining more trust and responsibilities. So, from the perspective of emperors, the existence of eunuchs was indeed closely related to loyalty, contrary to the common belief that castrating them was only to prevent impure bloodlines in the harem. In other words, ensuring pure bloodlines was one of the purposes of castration, but the primary reason eunuchs became significant figures in Chinese history was the voluntary relinquishment of reproductive rights. What Chinese people cared about the most was the continuation of their bloodline. Even though one would eventually die, having descendants meant life's continuity, a crucial aspect in ancient beliefs. However, for imperial power, the main competitors were the bureaucratic class or the practical administrators in various regions. Managing such a vast empire couldn't solely rely on an emperor and a set of administrative institutions. Although the emperor was the nominal ruler, the actual administration was conducted by local bureaucrats and landowning elites. A complete bureaucratic supervisory system loyal to the imperial authority was essential. However, as long as there were descendants and family ties, once someone had power, they would inevitably be co-opted by the bureaucratic system. The simplest and most stable means of co-optation was through marriage alliances. However, the greatest advantage of eunuchs was not their lack of sexual ability, but their lack of descendants. Without descendants, they could not compete with the heirs to the throne. While eunuchs could adopt godsons, these were power-based relationships, fundamentally different from blood relationships. In fact, eunuch groups indeed found it challenging to form forces that could shake the foundation of imperial power. They often maintained their dominance through constant conflicts and inducements. However, this could be different for in-laws or local lords. Change of dynasties was a likely scenario. Under such a system, imperial trust in eunuchs was inevitably higher than in civilian and military officials. The most critical factor was the ability to cultivate a force that was completely loyal to the emperor and would never become a family power. Hence, many ancient people were willing to become eunuchs for this reason. This path provided a fast track to rise in society. Although the imperial examination system began during the Sui dynasty and was perfected during the Tang dynasty, it was still challenging for the lower class to succeed. Even with the examination system, the upward mobility path remained limited to a small number of individuals. The wealthy class generally wouldn't choose to become eunuchs because they didn't need to. Many eunuchs were poor people or criminals. Most of them entered the palace because they couldn't survive outside, so they made the drastic decision to castrate themselves and become eunuchs, ensuring a stable living as government officials. Eunuchs who gained trust and power near the center of the empire could become a last resort for a few people. For instance, the famous eunuch Zheng, he was rumored to be a descendant of a prominent Yuan dynasty official. Due to the fall of the Yuan dynasty, Zheng he was castrated at a young age, making him a eunuch. Despite this questionable background, he gained the trust of Emperor Qingzu of the Ming dynasty. This demonstrated that reproductive ability represented competition in the face of power. By giving up the competition, even if one's identity was questionable, it could be ignored. This fundamental reason became a significant temptation for many people to eagerly become eunuchs. However, why is the image of eunuchs so negative in people's minds? There might be two main reasons. First, the historical narrative has mostly been controlled by bureaucrats and Confucian scholars. Eunuch power itself was a tool used by the imperial authority to covertly balance the bureaucrats. Additionally, their physical defect made them looked down upon, and their reputation was easily tarnished. Secondly, eunuchs themselves knew they had no descendants, possibly no good rebirth in their next life, so they prioritized their present enjoyment. They didn't consider the future development of the country. Therefore, eunuchs who gained power could become a fatal blow to the dynasty. In the late Qing dynasty, during the reign of the Zhou clan, the entire power of the 8 banners could be used to restrain the bureaucratic group, making eunuchs lose their function. Although eunuchs had a negative image due to their peculiar profession, they played an extremely important role in Chinese history. They constantly influenced the direction of the country's civilization. This is History and Culture channel. Like and subscribe are the biggest help and support for us. Thank you everyone. See you next time.